empowerment is something that we seek externally. And I think it's a misnomer. I don't know that you can empower someone else. I think you can inspire them. I think that you can motivate them. But I like to use the term empowerment, IN empowerment, because it really is intrinsic. It's within us. And so my goal in this book and my goal in this message is to awaken what's already within you. And I believe that it's already inside of all of us. It's simply giving ourselves permission to use it, giving ourselves permission to go after what we already know is there. And we all have that, that Wonder Woman inside of us, that little Batman kid, let's let that person unleash and go after what it is that you really want. And that's really what the permission mission is. It's the ability to go after what you want in your life. And the mission has to be greater than the fear, and having the grit and the determination to do it and not being afraid of the consequence, because there's going to be bumps along the way. We all know that. But really trusting that inner voice will guide you. That's my goal for everybody in this message. And I think that's the empowerment piece. And we all have it. You just have to give yourself permission.
It's Sunday. That means it's time for a mental health break. My name is Vincent A. Lancy, and I have an incredible guest with us today who's going to talk about practical frameworks for building self-trust, insight into why people struggle to speak up and choose themselves, actionable tools to move from hesitation to empowered decision-making. We're bringing on the Permission Mission author, Dr. Cindy. Thank you for joining us on your book tour.
Thank you so much for having me, Vincent. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. And one of the cool things about a podcast, everyone, is you can do this virtually with people all around the world and country. I'm in Florida. She's temporarily in Seattle, Washington, going back to San Francisco. So everyone, your story is impactful. Please be sure to share it, whether on a podcast, a book, or with a mentee. Again, let me welcome you back to a mental health break. You see it and you hear it in my voice. We have a very special interview today, and we're brought to you by Living Proof TBI Coaching. If you want to take your TBI out of the rearview mirror and into your future and control your life again, that is the place to start. And I can't be more excited because so many topics that you like to talk about, Cindy, resonate with me, and I know will resonate with some of our audience. I touched on a few, but why waiting for permission keeps us stuck, I think, is so important. I can't wait to talk on that, and how to identify and silence internal backup singers. I haven't heard of it referred to that, so I'm going to coin you with that and credit you with that. I think the itty bitty committee in our head, right? It's always talking and how we control that. But before we get to that, Cindy, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience, and ultimately, what led you to work in this field?
So I was a college professor a long time ago and worked with, the 18 to 22-year-old crowd, went into consulting, been running my consulting practice for, wow, almost 2 decades. That's hard to say. Very grateful for the opportunity to work with so many people. But in the work that I do as an executive coach and working with companies, I saw so many accomplished people still struggling with the ability to give themselves permission. These were people that were doing amazing things, yet struggling with imposter syndrome, getting in their head, that itty bitty committee in their mind. And I started recognizing that there was a pattern with it. And it wasn't a lack of confidence. It was a lack of permission, getting in our own way. And I said, there's got to be something to this. And that's what led me to write the book. And I said, I feel like I can help people if I can just figure out what the issue is. And so I started doing research on it, went back to my, PhD geek roots and started digging in. And that's what led to the book.
It's a very interesting topic, and I know how able we are to resonate with others because we all face this different voices in our head. When you were a little girl, though, did you think you'd grow up to be a published author?
Not at all. When I was a little girl, I was gonna be Wonder Woman, of course, right? Like, wasn't everybody gonna be a superhero of some sort? I wanted that invisible plane.
I love it. Now, when you were writing this book, did you find any mental health benefits from the act of writing this book? For me, I found it very therapeutic, and I always like to ask the same of other authors.
Absolutely. So I have a really weird way that I write books, and I write by Post-it note to start,
Okay.
but my process is kind of, cathartic, and it is my mental health journey. I do a lot of writing, and it's my creative process, do by pencil, like pencil first in a notebook, then I actually do by Post-it, then I take breaks. I do a lot of walking, I do a lot of mental health breaks for myself. I actually go away quite a bit where I go to different locations. I need that stimulation of a new spot. I have a very secret thing that I do, which I'll share with your listeners, which is I eat cereal. I don't ever do that other than when I'm writing.
Interesting.
And I'm not talking about the healthy stuff. It's a mental health break for me though, or it's like a treat.
Uh-huh.
And it's a lot of self-care to the process, especially something like this because it's really personal. It's quite vulnerable to share this. There's a lot of me in this book, and that's scary to share that with the world. So I felt like I needed to do more self care with this book than with some of my other ones, just because there was a lot more personal information that I was sharing.
So many good points, and thank you for taking that courageous step to share your story. Everyone, I know it is not easy, but I'd like to challenge you to remember our stories are bigger than us. We may feel like we're alone sometimes in this path, but for example, me, I'm not the only person to get hit by a car. I'm not the only person with a traumatic brain injury, right? So when I finally recognized that side of things, I felt more comfortable sharing my story because it is our story. It is what we've gone through, and nothing's going to change that. But if we do share it, we may be able to help other people along the way again in these similar shoes. And now, Cindy, I teased some of those areas in the beginning, right? Yeah, I got smiley. I was really excited about all of the other things you could talk about. Let's talk about one of these first here. You have some practical frameworks for building self trust. Everyone, stick around to the end of the show so you get her website so you can get more into detail on this, how you can book a call with her. But if you can scratch the surface for us, I'd love to dive in for our audience.
So a lot of it is around recognizing why we have the patterns to begin with. And the first thing that I think we need to do is kind of clean out our emotional closet. We don't even realize why we have some of these patterns that we carry. And it's quite heavy. And unless we've done some of that work, it just is who we are. And so often we put ourselves in this idea that we're a victim. We create a narrative for it. And we say, oh, but this is my comfort zone. The comfort zone isn't all that comfortable. It's simply familiar. And in fact, it can be very uncomfortable. We're just choosing to be there. So if you really clean out that emotional closet, you're recognizing that uncomfortable zone isn't really where you want to be, but you don't choose to take a step out of it. You're no longer a victim, you're a volunteer. And that's something you have to come to grips with and realize, okay, do you really want this for your life? Do you really want this for your future? That's a pattern then that you are perpetuating. And that's a tough look in the mirror if you really are being honest with yourself. And that's one of those pieces that you have to recognize and give yourself permission to step out of that. And a lot of times that was taught to us. It was, oh, well, we can't do this. People in our family don't do this. Girls don't do this. Boys don't do this. Well, maybe they do. Let's step outside of that uncomfortable zone and try something new.
So many great points there in life as it goes faster and faster as we get older and older. When we're comfortable with something, time can pass us by instead of taking that leap, taking that chance. And I know from people who have grown older, right, grandparents' age, they always run back to things they could have done, no regrets, right? So go out there and take a leap of faith. As I said, she went out here and she put this book together. Everyone, it's called The Permission Mission, Reclaiming the Power to Trust Your Own Voice. Everything she's talking about in this episode's just teasing it. So again, end of the episode, be sure to stay around. We'll tell you how to get the book, get in touch with her, and remember to subscribe to this series to stay current so you wouldn't miss an episode like Dr. Cindy. But now I'd love to go back to the other area I said, and I coined you with it, the backup singers, right? How do we identify and silence these internal backup singers that do look a little bit different for everyone?
Yeah, so they're loud. It is that committee in our minds, and we tend to let them have the mic, and we may not realize that we're letting them do that. And we have to choose for ourselves, should they get a solo or not? And we collect them over the years. And they're our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, our friends, our family. But what we have to realize is we have just as many positive voices as negative voices. If we really do think about our lives, not everybody has just negative influence. We have good ones. Sometimes we choose to keep the negative. We simply collected more of the negative ones. You had the good ones. You just didn't choose to give them a seat at the table. So we really do have to recognize how we created the chorus that's there. And then what do we want to do going forward? And so that's the first part. And then the second part is they have mixed messaging. So I always think of my grandmother. My grandmother taught me to look both ways before crossing the street. But there were also lessons I learned from her that don't serve me today. She grew up in a different time and place than I did. So I recognize the good, but I also recognize the things that aren't going to help me reach my own goals in life. So some days Granny gets a solo, and some days Granny gets sent to the back.
And I think you touched on it again there, right? Some of these bad quote unquote decisions. Does this go back to our comfortability, our comfort zone, what makes sense?
Absolutely. And it's easy to use them as an excuse, right? It's like, oh, my grandma said I couldn't do that, or my dad said I'd never be able to do this. Sure, that's an excuse because they said you couldn't. But I mean, think about the things we've all been told we couldn't do, and then we prove them wrong.
That's right. And a lot of it is on the other side of that comfort zone, that scary change. Everyone, I hope she's inspiring you as much as she is inspiring me. And while we're talking about right silencing these internal backup singers, there comes a place of once we do, how do we build that confidence? But something often interchanged incorrectly would be confidence and self trust. I know this is another area you're an expert in. If you could please distinguish the two so our audience can gain both.
Yeah. So it's so funny. People say, well, I just don't have any confidence. I wasn't born confident. These people are born confident. Everybody's born confident. I think that's something you build over time. If you think about, the first time you ever played a sport or the first time you ever gave a speech or had to stand up in front of the class, nobody just waltzed up there and was like, yep, I got this. There's very few people that ever do that and truly are confident at that. It's like a skill and it's a muscle that you flex and you get better over time. We gain confidence. It's like you gain that ability. Self-trust, that's inside of you. That's something you have. You just have to claim that. You know better. And all of us have that within us. And we know this only because when you go against that little voice inside of you feel it later and you go, "Oh, I knew better." And
Yeah.
that little voice is right every time. So that's the difference between confidence is external. This self-trust, that's the inside piece. And when you trust yourself over all those backup singers, that's when you really know. That's going to give you that ability to go out and build your confidence.
I can relate there where oftentimes if I don't go with my gut, I have that instant wishing I did. And sometimes it's just a matter of knowing we know what's best. Go with it. Don't second guess yourself. You're amazing. Everyone, life is not easy, but with great people like Dr. Cindy in our corner, we can help improve each and every day. And I can't wait to get everyone that contact information. But now we go on this book tour, you're traveling, you're still working, you're recording this in a foreign place, right? A different office. What are some tips you can give to our audience? Maybe traveling, it's stressful, there's a lot of uncertainty. What are some things mentally that are help keeping you afloat? Maybe some things you're doing.
Yeah, so I have a couple of routines because I'm on the road quite a bit. So the first thing is I have to get my surroundings in order. So the minute I get into a hotel room or wherever I am, I have to feel at home. So I have to get unpacked, get all my things put away. I also have a bit of a routine in terms of like I have my desk area together, I have my, toiletries out, all those things. But then I also have to feel like I am at home. So I have some mental practice that I do in kind of a meditation piece,
Okay.
but I get on schedule wherever I am. So if I'm on the East Coast, I am right on that schedule, whether I'm tired, whether I'm exhausted, it doesn't matter. I try to get on that schedule, even if I'm traveling internationally. So that's my piece is I try to acclimate right away, feel like I'm part of that because the community is important to me. So if I'm off kilter with the community, it messes me up. I need the people. I need the energy of the day. I need the energy of the people. So that's something that I do. And then the other thing is I need space for myself too. I'm an extrovert, but I still need that time to recharge. So I make sure that I have a little bit of mental space where I'm on all day and I just need a few moments. So before I'm going on or before I'm going to be on stage, like I've got a book signing tonight, I'm going to be speaking and being interviewed. I'm super excited, but I'll need about 20 minutes just to myself. And I'll go hide somewhere and just give myself that mental break to kind of breathe and center myself and do some gratitude practice. And remember that this is about the message. It's not about me. It's about the message. I'm just a messenger.
I love everything you said there, doing the little things to remove the uncertainty, at least for me, uncertainty and being thrown off track and not taking the time to get back on track throws a whirlwind in my day. So I like how you said acclimating right away, trying to get as comfortable as you can. And the mental recharge is so important. I certainly need that as well, whether it's before a gig or before a podcast, even, right? I just took a walk outside before. I mean, I'm a little different weather from you. I'm down in Florida, but I go outside and I make sure I take a walk and I get my head right. No phone, the natural noises, the sunlight, the vitamin D is great. I mean, I'm in a little jacket here, but we're at 66 degrees because of as we're
Yeah.
recording this, we have the tornado and the TSA shut. It's like this whole wild time right now. So, did you have when you were traveling, were there delays because of the shutdown?
Yep. Yeah, we had a little bit of delays coming through. And actually, it was raining. Funny enough, I have to get outside and get some fresh air. So this morning, before my first satellite news morning show, I had to get outside. So it was 5 o'clock this morning. It was raining, but I was like, I got to get out and get fresh air before I start. So I'm same with as you. Got to
I
get out and feel the air.
I think Seattle's known for their rain. I've been to Washington when I was younger. I went to the Washington Nationals baseball park with my older cousin. He took me one year for my
Mhm.
birthday, did those, but I've never been victim to the rain there. So I'm glad you're dry for now. But everyone, before I get her contact information, before we get some advice for you, earlier we talked about practical frameworks for building self trust. Another way she could provide an actionable tool to you is how she discusses moving from hesitation to empowered decision making, something that she's exemplified with this new book. Can you please dive into this a little bit to help our audience out?
So, empowerment, empowerment, is something that we seek externally. And I think it's a misnomer. I don't know that you can empower someone else. I think you can inspire them. I think that you can motivate them. But I like to use the term empowerment, IN empowerment, because it really is intrinsic, it's within us. And so, my goal in this book and my goal in this message is to awaken what's already within you. And I believe that it's already inside of all of us. It's simply giving ourselves permission to use it, giving ourselves permission to go after what we already know is there. And we all have that, that Wonder Woman inside of us, that little Batman kid, let's let that person unleash and go after what it is that you really want. And that's really what the permission mission is. It's the ability to go after what you want in your life. And the mission has to be greater than the fear. And having the grit and the determination to do it and not being afraid of the consequence because there's going to be bumps along the way. We all know that. But really trusting that inner voice will guide you. That's my goal for everybody in this message. And I think that's the empowerment piece. And we all have it. You just have to give yourself permission.
Well, I don't think I could ask another question or bring up a better discussion point to close it out on that note. And now, everyone, we're going to get her contact info, but I will have her help you out first. If there's someone tuning in here to a mental health break today and they're going through a very tough time, things aren't going their way, right? In life, there's these ups and downs. What's a piece of advice you may be able to offer to our audience?
Know that there are the ups and the downs, and the up is coming. And I think it's really easy for us to say, oh gosh, this is never going to end. And truthfully, for the listeners, there have been ups and downs with this book, even. And it's really easy to say, gosh, oh my gosh, is anything going to go right? Right. And it is really hard to see that there's going to be a peak when you're in the valley, but there always is. And recognize that nobody does this life alone.
Oh my
And
gosh.
there's always somebody there to help you, whether you think they are or not. There are people there for you. Do not do this by yourself. Reach out. There is always someone there to help.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that. Everyone, asking for help is not a weakness, but more of a sign of strength because you recognize we all have strengths and weaknesses. We cannot be good at everything. And Cindy, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for keeping the show a top 5% global podcast. Please remember to subscribe to stay current so you don't miss a show. And please also share this episode with someone you feel it can benefit. She offered so much today, but for her to offer more, Cindy, please tell us the website, where to find the book, of course, if there's a calendar link, any way that our audience can connect.
Absolutely. So they can go to thepermissionmissionbook.com or drcindy.com, and it is available wherever books are sold.
All right, everyone. That's a lot of different places. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, if you want it today, right? You want it tomorrow, go get that same day, next day shipping. My name is Vincent A. Lancy, and you can learn more about me online by typing in Vincent A. Lancy to Google. Today is brought to you by Living Proof TBI Coaching. Please reach out to the show if you know of someone struggling with a TBI today or their family is going through a tough time. But with that, we've got to get her to her book tour. She's got big things coming up right now. I'm very proud of you. Again, congratulations on this next step, taking that vulnerable step that we talked about during this show, getting out of our comfort zone to find greatness in her case, right? And happiness. And the same thing can happen to each and every one of you tuning in today. Believe in yourself and the sky's the limit. With that, we are signing off today from Florida, up and over to Washington. Thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I would love to hear your feedback. What did you love? What do you want to see more of? Are there any questions you would like me to ask the guests who come on the show? This show is not possible without you, the amazing listeners, so please email us at podcastsbylancy@gmail.com and let us know what you think. We'll also feature you on a later show. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with our amazing community of guests who will continue to come on the show, sprinkled in with solo episodes from me, Vincent A. Lancy. With that, I look forward to introducing more shows to you each and every week. And with that, we're signing off today. Enjoy the episodes and make it a great day ahead.